What's the story? Where's the dirt? Nobody's happy till somebody gets hurt. I don't wanna keep up with all that garbage that you swallowed on a Sunday when you burn.
This is a special access, need to know Maki video. If you are here, you are at the $15 level, and I very much appreciate that. Thank you. Now, over the last couple of weeks, we have been talking about depersonalization, cognitive dissonance, and Maslow's hierarchy, the normality bias, and how it is used in the media to affect people's thought patterns and opinions. A couple of weeks ago, I put out a poll, a survey, on YouTube, and I was hoping someone would have picked up on the PSYOP, but no one has yet to do it. So we're going to use that here today as an example. Now, in this hypothetical poll, it reads as thus. In 2030, body armor tech advances have resulted in a lightweight, flexible material virtually impervious to any round fired from commercially available weapons. Military and law enforcement personnel are required to use it. Fearing criminal use, civilians are banned from owning it. Does this violate the Second Amendment? Well, real quick, the Second Amendment reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Nowhere in there does it deal with any type of clothing. And since this is just a material that can be shaped into either a shirt or pants or gloves or whatever, it really probably could not be seen as arms. Yet it would make the use of arms, at least commercially available ones, pretty useless. Now, it is a hypothetical, and you could debate whether this is even possible or whether, this is something that we should worry about even by the year 2030, but the idea is this. The people that make the argument against guns only make the argument against certain people having guns, and that's what they don't get. The psychological operation works this way. They have depersonalized a very personal belief. They talk about the guns being the problem, and we shouldn't sell the guns. But what they're really saying is that only certain people should have them, which is a tacit admission of it being a personal issue with guns. It's about the people, not the gun. This is the cognitive dissonance in this argument. When they say stuff like this, they don't have the ability to see their own blind spot, and this actually happens on the right as well. When they say the guns aren't the problem, it's a people problem, they're absolutely right. But what they don't ever go down the road with is that what's causing the people problem? What's causing people to get to the point of hopelessness and to be so afraid of the future and to be so afraid of their surroundings that they only feel like lashing out with a gun is their only answer? And what if we would get to the point where we had clothing like this, where somebody couldn't just walk into a school and start shooting people and have any real effect? Let me see if I can bring up the right picture here. Hold on a second. I brought up a bunch of these. And of course, it'll always be the last one I choose, always. It's something that's never brought up, but it's very relevant. This is the Oklahoma City bomber, of course, killed 168 people, killed 19 children under the age of 6, injured 680, and everything that he used to do it is still available for purchase. Cognitive dissonance. I don't even think people on the right would try to defend a bomber or defend anybody trying to make a bomb, but do you see where they've lost the touch with what the solution would be? You can talk about mentally ill all you want. There's all sorts of, the vast majority of mentally ill people don't pick up a gun and kill people. And the vast majority of gun owners don't kill people. So what's the answer? You see, that's the cognitive dissonance on both sides. That it's really neither. It's something that's not going to have a silver bullet, pardon the pun, but it's not an easy question, and people don't like questions that require you to operate in a gray area. This is why politics, and this is a personal opinion here, always ends up being a two-horse race. And I've tried to make this argument and failed miserably on YouTube about there being a third option instead of, right or left, Republican or Democrat, because when I introduced this idea of a third option, I was attacked by both sides. Because I didn't fall into the Clinton camp, I didn't fall into the Trump camp. You become the enemy of everyone. And if you were to go out there and say that it's not a mental health issue, nor is it a gun issue, you would get attacked as well. Because it has to do with the mental state people are in. They have to be able to fix things. A is the problem and B is the answer. And it's never that way. And this is the hallmark of a psychological operation. Because you have to set that up ahead of time. You have to set up the method by which people are brought out of the top two tiers of Maslow and down into the bottom three, or more, accurately in the bottom two. Because that's what happens after one of these things. People all, don't care how self-actualized they are, after this happens, everybody cuts down a couple of levels. The people on the right, they go out, they buy a bunch of weapons because they're afraid they're going to get taken away. It's never happened. And then the people on the left, they go organize this silly, ridiculous marches. They get laid down in the aisles in grocery stores, and they talk about not doing anything, and they lose their minds. The vast majority of depressed kids don't pick up a gun and do anything. The vast majority of people in this country don't know anybody who's ever been the victim of one of these shootings. So what do? As psychological operators, we recognize the psychological operation. We recognize and understand what's going on, and we don't allow ourselves to be swayed by it. We maintain our focus. We understand that there's going to be people out there that are going to want to act out based on their emotion and speak based on their emotion. But being trained psychological operators, we're going to understand that that's all that is. And that we're not required to justify what they're saying or shoot down what they're saying or side with them or side against them. It's about understanding the mental state of people after this. And being able to protect our own gates, our own ears, our own eyes, and being able to identify this stuff when it comes out. I thought this was funny to bring up because it's kind of how I feel sometimes. If you can't read it, it says, all I said was I'm a straight, white, atheistic, liberal male against abortions and support gun control. It's like, half on one side, half on the other, and then, of course, a giant, crowd of hostile natives chasing the one individual. And this is, just a reiteration of how the left has this disconnect, the psychological dissonance. Guns are bad, guns kill, so we need to hire men with guns to threaten to kill people if they don't give up their guns so that they don't use their guns to kill themselves or other people. It's ridiculous. But when you're trying to speak to people logically, they're in a state of emotional reactionaryism, and I know that's a horrible word, but I hate to use the term emotional thinking because it's an oxymoron. You're either emotional or you're thinking, but you're not both. And history's proved this. And I brought this up just to say that when, the basic idea of illegality of something doesn't stop people from doing things. It's illegal to walk into a school and shoot up a bunch of people. It doesn't matter whether you're using a gun. It's illegal to kill people, no matter how you do it. The method is irrelevant. If somebody was a really great chemist and was able to cook up their own batch of ricin or cook up their own batch of whatever botulism or whatever kind of thing and go poison a whole bunch of people, that's just as illegal. And nobody is banning chemistry classes. And this is another great example of cognitive dissonance. It's like, oh, gun-free zone, I feel better, and all of a sudden, things are going to be great as long as we do these things. So, anyway, this is the level I wanted to take this, this mid-range to where we can look at the fundamentals, the basics that we've taught, at the $5 level, the $10 level, and then we can see how those things are put into play in real life. The depersonalization is huge in this particular argument because it has been completely depersonalized. Is it about a gun? Is it about a gun law? Is it about a zone? Is it about mental health? All of these depersonalized ideas. So we'll leave it there at 12 minutes. Thank you so much. The channel is doing great. The Patreon channel is absolutely taking off way better than I ever thought it would. You guys are part of it. You guys at this level, as soon as we get through the basic fundamentals of training, we're going to be handing out assignments. And I'm going to, of course, be expecting reports. So thank you so much. Rewatch this. Rewatch the lower level videos to get a good grasp and a concept, and you can identify this in other arguments as well. So like, share, subscribe.